There is a way of breathing that most people never notice, not because it is complex, but because it is simple enough to be overlooked. This breath does not just calm the body, it changes how reality feels. It shifts how you see, hear, and interpret the world around you. Jacobo Grinberg spoke about this quietly, not in headlines and not as something to sell, but as a key to perception itself. According to Grinberg, perception is not passive. You are not simply receiving reality. You are tuning into it. Breath plays a central role in this tuning process. What makes this unsettling is not what this breath does, but how fast it works. The shift does not take weeks or years. In the right pattern, perception can reorganize almost instantly. This may explain why this knowledge never became mainstream. It does not rely on belief. It does not demand ideology, and it does not place power outside of you. Grinberg observed that certain breathing rhythms reduce internal noise. When that noise drops, awareness becomes continuous. When awareness becomes continuous, reality appears more stable, clearer, and less fragmented. This is not simple relaxation. It is coherence. In this video, you will learn what this breath pattern actually affects, why it alters perception instead of mood, and how it connects to Grinberg's idea that the brain does not create reality, but filters it. You will also understand why this was never openly suppressed. There were no warnings and no bans, only silence, because omission is often more effective than prohibition. By the end of this video, you will see why unconscious breathing keeps perception automatic, why conscious breathing restores the observer, and why Grinberg believed that when awareness becomes stable, reality reorganizes without force. This is not a mystical promise. It is a structural explanation that challenges how you think perception works. Stay with this video until the end, because the final insight changes how you use attention itself. And once attention changes, perception follows. Welcome to Awakened Synchronicity. If you are ready to explore the hidden mechanics of awareness through the work of Jacobo Grinberg, subscribe to the channel and let's begin. Before we talk about the specific breath pattern Jacobo Grinberg highlighted, it's important to understand why breath affects perception at all. Most people think of breathing as just a biological function, a way to get oxygen into the body and carbon dioxide out. But breath is much more than that. It carries rhythm, and rhythm is a powerful organizer of the nervous system. Every inhale and exhale sets a subtle tempo for the body, the heart, and even the mind. When the rhythm of your breath changes, the rhythm of your nervous system changes too. Fast, shallow breathing tends to scatter attention, triggering tension and anxiety. The body interprets it as a signal that something needs urgent response. On the other hand, slow, deep, coherent breathing sends a message of safety, order, and stability. It reorganizes neural patterns and allows attention to become more focused. Grinberg observed that perception is closely tied to this internal order. When the nervous system is coherent, the brain's ability to filter and interpret reality improves. Breath becomes a bridge between unconscious states and awareness. By adjusting rhythm, you can shift from reactive, fragmented perception to a state of unified observation. This is why certain breathing patterns feel almost magical. They do not just relax the body, they recalibrate perception itself. Grinberg's work suggests that the quality of attention you can sustain is directly linked to the rhythm of your breath. The moment breathing becomes coherent, the mind becomes more stable, and reality starts to appear clear. Breath is also subtle. It works without effort. You don't need to concentrate on external techniques or force your awareness. The nervous system responds automatically to rhythm. This automatic response is what makes breath such a fundamental key in Grinberg's studies. Alter the rhythm, and perception shifts. It is simple, yet deeply profound, forming the foundation for everything he explored about consciousness and the hidden structures behind reality. According to Jacobo Grinberg, the brain does not create reality. This idea is not easy to grasp at first, because we have been taught to believe that the brain is the origin of everything we perceive. We think that thoughts, feelings, and experiences are produced inside the head, as if the mind constructs the world around us like a machine. But Grinberg's research challenges this assumption. He observed that the brain functions more like a receiver than a creator. It tunes into reality rather than inventing it. What we perceive, therefore, is not a direct product of our brain's effort, but a reflection of the way our nervous system interacts with the field of information that surrounds us. The brain is constantly adjusting, filtering, and translating signals, and one of the most powerful ways to influence this tuning is through breath. Breath affects the signal. Change your breathing pattern, and the way the brain tunes into reality shifts almost immediately. Fast, shallow breathing creates fragmented perception, scattering attention and limiting the clarity of experience. Slow, coherent breath reorganizes neural activity, creating a sense of stability in both mind and body. This principle forms the foundation of Grinberg's work. Reality is not made, it is accessed, and breath is one of the keys to access it efficiently. Attention follows breath naturally. There is a hidden link between the rhythm of breathing and the focus of awareness. When breath is rapid and uneven, attention is pulled in many directions. Thoughts become scattered. The nervous system interprets this as a signal of unpredictability and perception fragments. The mind feels restless, anxious, or overactive. But when breathing slows and becomes coherent, attention gathers effortlessly. It unifies around the present moment, stabilizing perception. Awareness does not force itself to focus, it naturally consolidates. The coherence of breath acts as a guide, shaping how attention flows and how the brain interprets the world. This is why ancient traditions emphasized specific breathing patterns in meditation, and why Grinberg believed that something as simple as breath could profoundly alter consciousness. Unified attention, stabilized by coherent breathing, allows reality to appear more structured and less chaotic. Perception becomes clearer, sharper, and more expansive, revealing layers of experience that are usually hidden beneath automatic reactions. Some breath patterns were never taught widely, even though their effects are profound. These patterns slow the system without effort or external intervention. They remove inner noise, the chatter of thought and distraction that obscures awareness. Unlike conventional practices that rely on exertion, counting, or force, these methods work through coherence. The nervous system responds naturally. The mind does not struggle to achieve calm. Instead, stillness arises spontaneously as the rhythm of breath organizes the body and mind. This is why the practice feels almost effortless, yet the effects are immediate and noticeable. The patterns that were set aside were subtle, quiet, and powerful. They were not widely shared because they bypass external control. They cannot be sold as a product or taught as a step-by-step system that guarantees measurable output. Their impact is internal, invisible, and personal. This makes them difficult to commercialize, but it also makes them authentic and transformative in ways that most people never experience. The suppression of these breath patterns was subtle, not aggressive. There was no official ban or prohibition. Instead, it was a matter of omission. The knowledge simply did not reach the mainstream. Modern systems favor stimulation, not stillness. Products, media, and cultural norms encourage rapid activity, distraction, and consumption. Silence, calm, and coherent breathing offer no commercial value in such a context. Breath that leads to awareness rather than reaction quietly fell into neglect. People continued to breathe automatically, unaware of its potential to reorganize attention, perception, and consciousness. Grinberg's work highlights this subtle suppression. The most effective methods for awakening awareness are often hidden in plain sight, ignored not because they are ineffective, but because they operate outside systems of reward and attention. The breath that reorganizes perception is powerful precisely because it works silently, without fanfare or external validation. When breath becomes coherent, The effects are remarkable. The body relaxes, but the mind sharpens, muscles loosen, and tension dissolves naturally. At the same time, thought slows down, not because of effort, but because the nervous system stabilizes. Awareness becomes continuous, rather than fragmented, and the mind no longer chases random impulses or distractions. Perception widens, small details become noticeable, patterns emerge, and the mind begins to grasp connections that were invisible during scattered attention. Time itself seems to shift. Moments stretch and compress, not as a subjective illusion, but as a reflection of the nervous system's recalibration. This is not imagination, it is a physiological and perceptual reorganization. Breath acts as a bridge between unconscious automaticity and conscious awareness, allowing the observer within to re-establish presence in the flow of experience. Coherent breath also reveals how deeply we are entangled with automatic patterns. Most people move through life, responding to stimuli without realizing that perception itself is shaped by the rhythms of their body. Thought, emotion, and reaction are guided by subtle physiological signals, of which breath is one of the most influential. By simply adjusting the rhythm of breath, awareness becomes sharper, and perception becomes more faithful to the actual structure of reality. This is not about controlling experience, but about tuning into it more clearly. The observer, previously fragmented by unconscious breathing, begins to stabilize. The nervous system, freed from the chaos of scattered rhythm, creates an internal order that mirrors coherence in perception. Grinberg emphasized that breath is not merely a tool for relaxation, it is a tool for tuning consciousness. The way we breathe shapes the signals the brain receives, the way attention flows, and the clarity with which reality is perceived. When breath is irregular or shallow, perception fractures, leading to confusion, anxiety, and disconnection. When breath is slow, rhythmic, and coherent, perception unifies, attention consolidates, and reality is experienced with greater clarity and depth. This is why the patterns of breath that were quietly ignored are so important. They provide direct access to a coherent state of awareness, one that does not require external input, force, or manipulation. The power of this method lies in its subtlety and immediacy. As breath becomes organized, internal noise diminishes. The constant chatter of the mind softens. Thoughts no longer dominate awareness, but become like clouds passing through a clear sky. The nervous system stabilizes, and with it the brain's tuning mechanism becomes more accurate. This stabilization allows for expanded perception, a clearer sense of presence, and an ability to observe reality without distortion. The link between breath, attention, and perception becomes undeniable. Unified breath leads to unified attention, and unified attention leads to stabilized perception. The effects are felt immediately, yet their depth grows the longer awareness is sustained. Grinberg's research also reveals why this approach to breath is so transformative. It works with the body's natural intelligence rather than against it. There is no struggle or effort required. Coherence is not forced, it is recognized and allowed to emerge. This natural unfolding enhances the nervous system's function, stabilizes attention, and broadens perceptual awareness. As awareness stabilizes, the observer becomes more present, and the brain's tuning into reality improves. Perception is no longer fragmented or distorted. Instead, it becomes more aligned with the underlying patterns of the world around us. This coherence also changes the experience of time. Moments that once felt rushed or chaotic now expand, and patterns previously unnoticed become evident. Attention, once scattered by shallow or rapid breathing, now settles naturally into the present. The nervous system supports this shift effortlessly. The mind experiences clarity, presence, and a sense of depth previously inaccessible during automatic breathing. The effects are subtle yet profound, revealing how much unconscious breath shapes our perception without our awareness. Grinberg emphasized that these patterns were not invented techniques. They are natural rhythms the body can adopt once attention is brought to breath. They slow the nervous system without force, reduce internal noise and restore coherence to both mind and body. When practiced even briefly, they produce immediate perceptual shifts. Awareness becomes continuous, perception expands, and the observer returns to a stable state. Coherent breathing does not manipulate reality, it aligns the observer with it. The subtlety of this shift is why it was never widely taught, yet its effects are profound, offering direct insight into the mechanics of consciousness and the hidden structures behind reality. When breath is consciously aligned, the body and mind enter a state of equilibrium. Muscles relax, tension dissolves, and the nervous system moves into order. Thoughts slow, attention stabilizes, and perception widens. Time is experienced differently as moments expand and details emerge with clarity. The observer, previously fragmented by unconscious breathing, becomes stable. Coherent breath allows the brain to tune more accurately into the field of reality, enhancing perception, attention, and awareness. This subtle yet profound shift is at the core of Grinberg's work, revealing how breath shapes consciousness and the way reality is experienced. Even slight changes in rhythm can produce noticeable effects. Awareness sharpens, attention becomes continuous, and perception becomes more faithful to reality. The hidden link between breath and consciousness demonstrates that reality is not imposed by the brain, but accessed through it. Coherent breath allows this access, reducing internal noise, stabilizing attention, and expanding perception. The patterns of breath, ignored or set aside for centuries, hold the potential to transform consciousness, restore the observer, and reveal the underlying coherence of the world around us. Awareness, when supported by coherent breath, becomes continuous. The mind no longer reacts automatically to stimuli. Thoughts slow, attention consolidates, and perception widens. Time and space are experienced differently, more vividly, and with a sense of clarity previously unattainable. Breath becomes the bridge between unconscious reaction and conscious observation, aligning the nervous system with the field of reality. Jacobo Grinberg's studies reveal that this alignment is immediate and natural, demonstrating the profound role of breath in shaping how we perceive and interact with the world. The rhythm of breath, once conscious and coherent, transforms perception by organizing the nervous system and stabilizing attention. Internal noise diminishes, the observer becomes present, and perception aligns with reality rather than fragmented mental constructs. This shift is subtle, powerful, and often overlooked. Breath that was quietly ignored carries the ability to reorganize perception, expand awareness, and restore coherence to the mind and body. Through breath, the observer is restored, attention stabilizes, and perception becomes wider, clearer, and more faithful to the structure of reality itself. Time feels different when breath is coherent. Thoughts flow naturally, attention no longer scatters, and the nervous system supports a calm yet alert state of awareness. Coherent breathing reduces internal noise without effort, allowing perception to stabilize. This is not relaxation alone, it is the alignment of observer, attention, and reality. Breath is the key to immediate perceptual shifts, and Grinberg's research shows that the patterns long ignored can produce profound changes in awareness and perception without external influence or force. Through coherent breath, the body and mind enter a state of equilibrium. Muscles relax, tension fades, and the nervous system harmonizes. Attention consolidates, awareness becomes continuous, and perception expands. Small details become noticeable, and reality is experienced with clarity and depth. Breath that organizes rhythm allows the observer to re-establish presence in experience, demonstrating that perception is not created by the brain, but tuned through coherent attention. Grinberg's work reveals that this simple yet overlooked practice can instantly shift how reality is perceived, providing a direct pathway to stabilizing consciousness and accessing deeper awareness. The subtle power of coherent breath, lies in its natural effect on the nervous system. It slows internal chaos, sharpens awareness, and widens perception. Attention flows effortlessly, and the observer returns to a stable state. Thoughts slow, perception stabilizes, and time is experienced differently. Breath is not a tool for relaxation alone. It is a bridge to consciousness itself, allowing the mind to tune into reality with clarity. Patterns of breath, ignored or suppressed, offer immediate access to this state, proving that awareness can be reorganized without effort and that perception can expand when the nervous system is aligned through coherent rhythm. Coherent breath reduces internal noise, aligns attention, and allows perception to stabilize. Awareness becomes continuous, and reality is experienced with clarity. The observer, once fragmented by unconscious patterns, returns to presence. The nervous system supports this shift effortlessly. Time, thought, and perception reorganize naturally. This subtle yet powerful effect demonstrates the hidden influence of breath on consciousness, attention, and perception. Grinberg's research emphasizes that these patterns, quietly ignored or suppressed, provide a direct method to restore coherence, stabilize awareness, and access the underlying structure of reality itself. Awareness, attention, and perception are interlinked through the rhythm of breath. Coherent breathing harmonizes the nervous system, sharpens the mind, and expands perception. Internal noise diminishes, thoughts slow, and attention consolidates. Time feels different, and reality appears more ordered. Breath is the bridge between automatic reaction and conscious observation, providing a direct pathway to stabilize awareness. Jacobo Grinberg revealed that these subtle yet powerful patterns, long ignored, can instantly reorganize perception, restore the observer, and allow the mind to tune into reality with clarity, coherence, and depth. The rhythm of breath shapes consciousness by organizing the nervous system and stabilizing attention. Awareness becomes continuous, perception expands, and reality is experienced more clearly. Internal noise fades, and the observer becomes present. Coherent breath aligns mind, body, and perception, demonstrating the profound role of breathing in shaping how reality is accessed rather than created. These patterns, quietly overlooked or suppressed, reveal the hidden potential of breath to transform consciousness, sharpen awareness, and reorganize perception, allowing the observer to experience the world with clarity and coherence. When breath is consciously aligned, attention consolidates, perception stabilizes, and awareness becomes continuous. The nervous system supports a calm, alert state, and the mind experiences reality with clarity and depth. Internal noise diminishes, thoughts slow, and the observer returns to presence. Coherent breathing demonstrates the hidden mechanics of consciousness and the subtle power of rhythm in shaping perception. Jacobo Grinberg's work shows that these overlooked patterns can instantly shift perception, restore awareness, and expand the mind's ability to tune into the underlying structure of reality, revealing a profound connection between breath, attention, and consciousness itself. Time, perception, and attention are transformed through coherent breath. Thoughts settle, awareness consolidates, and perception becomes more faithful to reality. The nervous system organizes effortlessly, internal noise diminishes, and the observer returns to presence. Breath, when aligned and coherent, provides a natural pathway to stabilize attention and expand perception. Grinberg's research emphasizes that these patterns, long ignored or suppressed, allow consciousness to access reality more clearly, demonstrating that breath is not merely biological, it is the key to organizing awareness, stabilizing perception, and tuning the mind into the field of reality itself. The subtle yet profound effects of coherent breathing reveal how deeply perception is tied to the rhythm of breath. Awareness becomes continuous, attention stabilizes, and reality is perceived with clarity. The observer is restored, internal noise fades, and thoughts flow naturally. Time feels expanded, and perception widens. Breath is the bridge that organizes the nervous system, aligns attention, and restores coherence to consciousness. Jacobo Grinberg's insights show that these quietly ignored patterns of breath have the power to instantly shift perception, deepen awareness, and reveal the hidden structures of reality that shape human experience. The shift is immediate. It does not require weeks of training or long hours of meditation. The change can happen in seconds. One coherent breath, recognized and allowed to unfold naturally, can alter the rhythm of the nervous system, and perception responds instantly to this order. This is not about effort or trying harder. The brain and body do not respond to force in the same way they respond to natural organization. Effort fragments attention and reinforces old patterns. Order, however, aligns the nervous system, stabilizes attention, and allows perception to reorganize itself effortlessly. Each inhale and exhale, when guided by coherence, creates a signal that the nervous system recognizes. The observer, previously scattered, can re-establish presence immediately, and the mind begins to tune into reality more accurately. The subtlety of this change makes it almost imperceptible at first, yet the effect is profound. Thoughts slow down, awareness widens, reality appears less fragmented. The nervous system, once chaotic, begins to resonate with the underlying patterns of the world. Breath serves as a bridge to what Grinberg called the Syntergic Field, the subtle field behind reality that organizes perception. This field is not theoretical. It is the structure that allows consciousness to connect with the coherence of existence. Breath organizes how we interact with it. When breathing is chaotic or automatic, signals become distorted, attention fragments, and perception becomes unreliable. Coherent breathing reduces this distortion. It aligns the nervous system with the subtle patterns of the field. As attention stabilizes, reality appears clearer, less noisy, and more coherent. The shift is immediate because the nervous system is highly responsive to rhythm and order. The moment breath becomes unified, the observer can perceive with continuity rather than interruption. Small details previously unnoticed emerge. Patterns become apparent. The observer, once fragmented by distraction and automaticity, begins to experience continuity in perception. Most people never notice this. Breath is automatic, and perception follows suit. When breathing is unconscious, attention fragments automatically. Thoughts race, emotions fluctuate, and reality appears distorted. Automatic breath creates automatic reality. People rarely pause to observe the rhythm of their own bodies. Conscious breath interrupts this loop. It creates a feedback mechanism between attention, awareness, and perception. Once recognized, this simple act has profound consequences. Awareness becomes more continuous. The observer returns and perception stabilizes. These patterns are subtle, quiet, and often overlooked because modern culture prioritizes stimulation, distraction, and constant activity. The unconscious rhythms of daily life prevent people from noticing that perception can be reorganized in an instant. The real effect of coherent breath is not mere calm. Calm is only the surface, a byproduct of order, but the deeper effect is clarity. When the nervous system stabilizes, reactive thought patterns slow. The mind ceases to chase stimuli and begins to observe. Observation replaces reaction. Attention becomes sustained. Perception is no longer filtered through scattered impulses or distraction. The observer, previously fragmented, begins to occupy its natural place at the center of awareness. Clarity emerges because the nervous system aligns with internal order. The mind does not need to force focus or quiet thought. The rhythm of coherent breath creates stability naturally. Reaction diminishes. Observation increases. The external world appears more organized because the internal observer has been restored. Breath restores the observer. When the rhythm of breathing slows naturally, awareness returns to itself. The observer stabilizes within the nervous system. This stability reorganizes how reality is experienced. Events no longer trigger automatic responses. Perception becomes wider, more faithful, and continuous. The coherence established through breath allows the brain to tune into reality with precision. Time, space, and detail become more accessible. The subtle structures of reality previously hidden behind internal noise begin to emerge. Awareness, once fragmented by unconscious habits, occupies its natural position, and perception follows. The field behind reality, the Syntergic Field, can be accessed more clearly because the observer is present and continuous. Breath, when recognized and allowed to unfold coherently, becomes a direct pathway to this clarity. Perception responds immediately to the order of breath. Coherence in breathing aligns the nervous system, stabilizes attention, and allows the observer to occupy its natural position. Reality reorganizes itself around this stability, not because it is forced, but because perception itself follows order. Small shifts in rhythm can produce instant perceptual changes. Awareness widens, thought slows, internal noise diminishes, observation becomes continuous. The mind stops reacting automatically to stimuli and begins to tune into the subtle structures underlying experience. Coherent breath restores the link between attention and perception. It bridges the gap between unconscious automaticity and conscious observation. The field behind reality becomes accessible because the observer is stabilized and attention is unified. The subtle power of breath lies in its immediacy. A single pattern can create order in the nervous system, and the effects ripple instantly through perception. Now it seems to stretch. The present moment becomes vivid. Attention is no longer fragmented by scattered thought. Awareness flows naturally. Reality feels wider, more structured, and less chaotic. Coherent breath does not need long practice or effort to create this effect. It simply needs recognition and alignment. As the observer stabilizes, perception reorganizes itself spontaneously. Internal noise dissolves. Clarity emerges, observation replaces reaction. Breath that organizes attention also clarifies reality. The mind, once fragmented, becomes continuous. Perception expands. Events are no longer experienced as disconnected stimuli, but as coherent patterns within a larger structure. The subtle field behind reality becomes perceptible, not as theory but as direct experience. Coherence allows the nervous system to align with these patterns. The observer, once fragmented, occupies its natural position, and reality follows. Small, effortless shifts in breathing create immediate effects, demonstrating the profound connection between breath, attention, and perception. Most people remain unaware because unconscious breathing maintains automatic perception. They never pause to notice how breath shapes awareness. Yet when the rhythm of breath is recognized and allowed to unfold coherently, the nervous system stabilizes instantly. The observer returns, attention consolidates, perception expands, internal noise diminishes, the world appears clearer, sharper, and more ordered. Time feels different, small details and patterns become noticeable. Observation replaces reaction, and the mind experiences reality with clarity. Rule is not merely survival. It is perception control. Not through effort, not through force, but through coherence. The subtle, quietly ignored patterns Jacobo Grinberg highlighted remain available to anyone who recognizes them. The moment breath becomes aligned, perception responds. Awareness stabilizes. Observation is restored. The nervous system, attention, and perception synchronize effortlessly, allowing reality to reorganize around the observer. Calm may appear on the surface, but the deeper effect is clarity. The mind stops reacting and begins observing. The field behind reality, previously inaccessible through scattered awareness, becomes perceivable. The shift is immediate. The breath they ignored works the moment you notice it, connecting attention, awareness, and perception in ways that reveal the hidden structures behind experience. Awareness, stabilized by breath, becomes continuous. Attention flows naturally, internal noise diminishes. Reality is experienced as more coherent, structured, and expansive. Small moments expand, and perception widens. Thought slows, observation increases, and the observer occupies its natural position. The field behind reality, once obscured, becomes accessible because the nervous system, tuned by coherent breath, allows perception to align with it. The subtle power of this practice lies in its immediacy. Recognition of breath creates order, stabilizes attention, and reorganizes perception without effort. It is coherence, not force, that restores the observer. Coherent breathing bridges unconscious automaticity and conscious observation. The nervous system responds instantly to order, and perception aligns with this internal coherence. Time, space, and detail emerge more clearly. Observation replaces reaction, awareness becomes continuous, and reality reorganizes around this restored observer. Breath is the key. The patterns ignored or suppressed are still available. The moment they are recognized, the effects are immediate. Clarity replaces confusion. Observation replaces reaction. Attention stabilizes. Perception expands. The subtle field behind reality becomes perceptible, and the observer regains its position at the center of awareness. This immediate shift demonstrates how deeply breath controls perception. It is not effort that reorganizes the mind, but the natural rhythm of order. The nervous system aligns, attention stabilizes, and perception broadens. Internal noise fades. The observer becomes present, time feels different, and reality appears clearer. Coherent breath produces these effects instantly, showing that the most profound changes in perception require neither force nor practice, only recognition, attention, and the rhythm of breath.